Beyond the Mic with Sean Dillon.
We're joined on the star line by a comedian with a stand-up special, Disingenuous. It's available on Amazon, iTunes, Google Play, and selected vaccine microchips. We welcome comedian Nick Vatterott.
Hey, a lot of people want to do, comedy specials, and I think I might want to do a dramatic special next, just to do some stand-up dramedy. Just get it for an hour.
What would be in a great dramedy special?
Oh boy, just just a lot of premises with no punchlines. Telling people what the problems are and having no real solution, even an exaggerated hyperbolic one.
So live.
Yeah. Yeah, it's called The News.
Nick, let's go beyond the mic. Growing up in St. Louis, how did those early days prepare you for your career in comedy?
Well, I think it's, the thing I liked the most about St. Louis was the people. I think that prepared me the most. Friends I had that were always goofing around. Seinfeld always said the funniest people he knew were his friends growing up. And I think that's sort of true. A bunch of guys that were always like, you should do comedy one day. You should do stand-up, which was always funny when I eventually did do stand-up. And then the audience was like, what are you doing? Don't be up there. And I was like, this was never my idea. I'm just going off of what my friends told me forever to do. But I think their encouragement was the biggest influence on that.
What was the best thing about college at Mizzou?
Hanging out, man. 1609 Wilson, East Campus. I really enjoyed the outside part of school, the non-school part. But I will say, I always say that you go to college to figure out what you want to do with your life. And I was doing terrible with all the school academic stuff, but I did improv for the first time with Comedy Wars on campus. I wrote, while I was failing out of the journalism class, I was writing an opinion column called My Humble Opinion for the Maneater newspaper. And so doing these types of things, I think really sort of helped push me towards what I enjoy doing in life.
So when your academic counselor told you, you need to try something different from college, what did you first think? Was it like, bingo, or thanks?
It was so funny. Yeah, I went in and talked to her, and she was like, why are you here? And it was so funny to go to somewhere. It was like going to a doctor and the doctor being like, listen, why are you trying to be healthier? I don't, where do you think this is going?
Wow.
And, and so, I kind of made fun of her a lot at the time because I thought that was the opposite of what an academic advisor is supposed to do, to sort of make fun of me for trying to go to college. But I mean, I think she was right. What I wanted to do was not there. It was outside of that. I don't even know if she really realized that's what she was saying. I was sort of because to do comedy is such a crazy thing. You don't even know how to do it or how you go about doing it or if you really can do it. It's what I kind of always wanted to do. And I think going to college, I was maybe either kidding myself, I was going to be a geologist or take one of these other classes, astrophysicist, and to be like, yeah, why am I here? And going back to the previous thing, there's these other things that I enjoy doing more. I should try to. And Second City came through Columbia when I was there. And I was like, wait, this is a thing? You can do this? Oh, okay. Well, let me sign up for that school.
Wow. So are you still paying off your college student loans?
Ha ha ha. Sadly, when I got my half-hour special for Comedy Central, I used that to pay off my loans, which is such a bummer because all those loans is just a piece of mail that you get every few weeks. And then I got the special, and the only thing that changed was I stopped getting that piece of mail every few weeks. It was not, you can't it's not something you can drive around or wear around your neck, just a little less stress.
I paid off my student loans. You should applaud me.
Yeah. No one's lower than their sunglasses when I walk by going, who's that with no debt?
You won the 2011 Andy Kaufman Award.
Yeah.
Andy saw the box that everyone has the world in completely differently.
Right.
How do you see Andy Kaufman different than everybody else?
The way I think I differentiate is that I do think a lot of people think that he was 100% anti-comedy. you know, and the story I like to tell, looking up so much about him, is that like, okay, like the one thing they always quote is when he would read Great Gatsby in front of an audience, and like I even see other comics would do this sometimes. They'd be like, yeah, he just hated the audience so much he would just read The Great Gatsby until they all left. It's awesome. And it's like, yeah, I guess he did that in Man on the Moon, but like there's a bit you can find online, and it's some talk show he's on, and he does the whole bit, and the whole bit's like 8-9 minutes long. And there's a setup and punchline to it. There is like a math to it. There is a payoff. I think even if you do like an anti-comedy thing, there still needs to be a payoff. I sort of gets under my skin, like a lack of payoff is the payoff. And he would do a thing where he would read it, and the audience would get mad, and he'd be like, I'm starting to think you guys don't want me to read this. And they start clapping, and they go, you know what? If you guys keep this up, I'm just going to play this record over here. They plot anymore. He's like, wait, what do you want me to read or play the record? They're like, record. He's like, all right. So he plays the record, and the record is him reading The Great Gatsby. And it's so funny, and it's such a great setup and payoff, and the audience just loves it. And I feel like people don't understand that he was still doing jokes. There was still a math behind it.
There are certain comedians like Stephen Wright. If you don't understand him, you won't see the comedic genius that's in a joke. Like my favorite, I stuck my car key in my apartment and it started right up, so I drove it around for a while. It's one of the greatest jokes that he's ever told, with such perfect deadpan, and people are like, is he serious?
There's a silliness to it, but there's also like, you know, I'm really into the absurd, but there needs to be some sort of connection to the real. You know, I mean, you know, it's so absurd to put your key into the apartment and drive it around, but it connects to the realness if that's what happens to the car. You can't just, it doesn't work, you know, with if it, you know, was a key to some, you know, his storage unit or something, and he put it in, you know. So there has to be, what is it that if you drive in at the speed of light and you turn your headlights on, what happens, you know? And like it's a very funny, absurd, but there's some smartness to it too.
Next time for the Rocky Nate, 8 random questions. Answer with the first thing that comes to your mind. Come on, funny improv man. There is no pressure.
Oh boy. Yeah.
You started out in St. Louis, have spent time in New York City and LA. Where's home for you?
Home is St. Louis for sure. Because that's where family is. Comedic home is Chicago, because that's where I started. That's where I started comedy. That's where I was like, oh, this is what I want to do with my life. That's when I stopped going to jail and getting arrested and being a complete idiot. And I had a different outlet to put sort of all this like energy towards. So I'd say it's twofold.
Best club you ever did a set at?
The best club I've ever done a set at? I mean, Creek and Cave in New York was like sort of the best. I mean, if St. Louis was my home and Chicago was my comedic home, Creek and Cave was like my like sort of stage home where I felt the most comfortable. I could experiment whatever I want on stage, you know, riff, improvise, try out some stuff I've been working on. That was like sort of the most fun, because and those audiences would like go in just kind of ready for everything, which was very nice.
What other career would you try if you couldn't do comedy?
I would if I couldn't. I would 100% professional disc golfer. I think that's the life.
What?
I think and it's so funny. I think it's only a career as of this year. I just saw a bunch of the guys, they're making like $4 million with like sponsors now. And I tell you what, when I started playing 20 years ago, I think like the top earner in the world earned like maybe a coupon to Outback Steakhouse. I just got really huge recently.
Would you rather have hair or $1 million?
Oh man. Well, you know what?
I can make that joke because we're on Zoom. You can see me, I can see you.
I know mine's grown out today. I feel shaggy today. You know what? I'm not vain. I've come to terms with my RIP hair a long time ago. God decided that life wasn't hard enough for me, so he decided to make it bald. But you know what I would do? I really don't care about hair at all, and I almost would want to say $1 million. But if I'm gonna be like smart about this, I can always make. I can make $1 million. I can't just make hair. So why not take the hair option and use that in my new modeling career to make $1 million?
He's not only a hair club for med spokesman, he's also a client. What do you waste money on?
What do I waste money on comedy. I buy, I was just going through my storage unit the other day. I have taco costumes, lobster costumes. I have all this camera equipment to I buy just ridiculous things to shoot videos and do sketches for. I have a bag of 100 babies that we did for this sketch. Or no, 30 babies, 100.
That's funny.
30 babies from a sketch where you throw a baby up in the air. You know how people throw babies up? And then at one time the baby gets stuck. So you get a little broomstick and you start poking and all of a sudden 30 babies fall down from above. And that's like a $75 joke, but it was worth it. So and it's funny once you do it, you don't throw the babies out, unless you're getting rid of the bathwater. Hey, but I still have these 30 babies that I moved to every apartment that I've wasted my money on.
Last time you were charged with a crime.
I think last time I was charged with a crime, there is a blur of things that happened before I started doing comedy. And I think it was probably maybe a marijuana or drinking as a minor charge, like in college or something like that. I did get arrested on 1999, New Year's Eve 1999, for partying like it was 1999.
Wow.
Which shouldn't have been a crime. It should be a song.
What do you find yourself shopping for more today?
Oh, groceries. I think I'm really into groceries now. I started collecting them. What I'll do is I'll keep them in the bottom of my fridge till they rot, then throw them out.
Then you go collect some more.
Yeah, it's great. It's a never-ending hobby.
Who gave you your first car, and what do you remember of it?
Nobody gave me anything. I bought a 1970 Volkswagen bus. I wrote a book about it. I went out all the way to, I was in Columbia, Missouri, went all the way out to Veneta, Oregon, right outside of Eugene. And I bought a bus I'd never seen before and never met the guy before and all that stuff. And I drove it all the way back. It broke down twice the whole way back. And then that was the first and only car I'd ever bought. And then New York City sort of absorbed it. That's what that city does. I think I got too many parking tickets in it, and I was on the road, and I just couldn't get back to fix it, and the tickets were too much to get it out, and it was gone. It's
time for the back half with comedian Nick Vatterott beyond the mic. What makes your special Disingenuous so genuine?
Well, that's what's sort of funny about it. I sort of think comedy does, so like life's serious, so then like comedy is supposed to, show like kind of be a mirror image of it, being like, stop taking it so seriously. But then like comedy gets a little too serious sometimes. And sort of like, I feel like comedy needs to like not always be so serious all the time. But at the same time, like what I was saying before about like realness and absurdity and silly, like there is some like realness in this, there is like, I'm sort of like being as ridiculous as possible in this sort of like mockumentary of me running around the city, trying to do as many different sets. Then this sort of surrealness happens where I may or may not experience a multiverse sort of situation. But there is like sort of some realness inside of all of these, inside of it. It's sort of like Ted pulls it as is not complete, unconnectable lunacy. So that would be, if there is anything genuine in it, that would be what it be.
Who's your favorite comedian? Who makes you laugh?
I mean, Brian Regan makes me laugh. Like, I just laugh so hard at every special. I laugh out loud. There's a lot of specials that I sit there and I have a smile on my face the whole time, and I'll rate it 5 stars and say that was a great special. But Regan really makes me laugh out loud. That I'll have jokes of his in his head, like he just had a special at Red Rocks. It was the last Netflix special, and I'll just walk around going 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. As he's got a bit about Because I guess the time around the North Pole, if you walk around in circles around the North Pole, you walk around want to talk to. It's so funny to me. And he kills me.
When you're on the road, you get to see other people's acts. You're working out your own material, and these people help evolve who you are as a comedian. Who mentored you in comedy?
I mean, you know, it's funny. I've never met Regan, but when I listened to his first special where he opens up the special with U2, which is one of his famous jokes, you know, that people have been done since then. It's he gets out of the car at the airport. The cab driver says, "Have a good flight." And he says, "Yeah, you too." And it's the funniest joke on the whole album. And I was like, wow, he opens the hour with his best joke instead of saving it for the very end. Yeah, why would you need to grab the audience in the very top? What are you saving this, you know, beautiful thing for the end? By the end, it's already decided. They don't like you. They're not going to like you now that you do this thing. You might as well grab them with the funniest joke in the very beginning. And I feel like there was lots of, watching Andy Kaufman really sort of be like, okay, but how can I play with the tension of the room? What are other elements outside of laughter that you can play with the audience? And in all comedy is tension. The laughter is the release. There's a sense of whether it be a real or philosophical or social danger that you're releasing by acknowledging a thing or pointing out the incongruity of something. And then he would play with this in other ways. And I think I got a lot of people that I really liked a lot. Steve Martin was very absurd, but he was able to be absurd on a giant, platform that people were still able to connect with. And then outside of that, just, the buddies that I, came up with and the audiences that told me that's not funny, those were all highly influential.
So how's your comedy evolved from when you started at Mizzou to now?
I think it's definitely, you want to become more of yourself on stage. I think the funniest you are is around your best friend, and, cause you're not really in your head. You're not thinking, you're not feeling you need to present yourself. And I think the goal is to be how you are around your best friend in front of complete strangers you met a minute ago that you might not even like. and to sort of, I think no matter, I don't know, I've never seen anyone really be who they are right off the bat. I think I found a version of myself that was comfortable and felt safe. And then I think eventually as I kind of grew into more of a version of myself that's similar to me, and that lent itself to improvising. Now that I'm closer to who I am, now I'm sort of me, so I'm quote unquote improvising on stage when really I'm just kind of being myself talking, and that's something I didn't do as much in the beginning. If
you're enjoying these conversations, please check out another Beyond the Mic episode to find more actors, artists, and people you need to know. We'd also appreciate a like and subscribe on the Good Pods app. Nick, you've been on Conan, Fallon. You got your hard six. Those 6 minutes of jokes that you've honed down to just pure perfection. How do you handle the pressure of the stage and touring when something that may have been funny weeks ago now may not be funny, or vice versa?
Right. I mean, that sort of in some ways is all of it. That's almost 100% of the craft, I think coming up with jokes and, and tweaking them and putting an act together is some of it. And then figuring out why that magic goes away. I think a lot of times you play telephone with a joke. I heard this old story once of this Viola Spolin was this old theater person who she's credited with starting improv. And there was an actor who just one night had an amazing night. And then every night after that, he had his worst nights. And he realized that he was trying to recreate that night that it went well, instead of what got him to have that night that go well was being in the moment or that kind of stuff. I think with comics, with stand-ups, it's a lot of times we're trying to recreate our last time we've told that joke, and we forget where we thought of our mindset of when we thought of the joke for the first time, how we told that joke on stage for the first time. And a lot of times I think when a joke stops working, it's because you're making a Xerox of a Xerox of a Xerox. And to have a joke start working that never did I wish that was a more of a problem. Because if it doesn't work, usually I've stopped doing it. Sometimes I have a tag. There are these couple like jokes that I never, for some reason, I won't let it die because the joke works and then the tag at the end never does. And then every single time I'll do the tag anyway, because I'm not going to stop doing that joke because most of the joke works. And I think this tag's going to work. Gosh, I have a joke right now. That I won't let it go. And that is, people from New York make fun of Chicago pizza all the time. And then, and they I can't do the whole joke, but it's basically,
hell, you can do the whole joke. I'm not going to stop a comedian from doing a joke on my show.
The joke is basically the New York people always like pizza, that ain't Chicago pizza, that ain't pizza more like lasagna, more like baked ziti. And then joke this, it's like, by the way, those are delicious dishes, by the way. I don't think they know how insults work. It's like, that's like saying, Bob's dating a model, more like Jennifer Lopez. But I don't even think they don't like the pizza. I think they just don't like that it's called pizza, but which is weird because they call pizza pie. What do the pie guys think? Are they like, hey, you call that pie? Where's the tangy apples? Where's the whipped cream? And then this is the line that never works. And it's, where's the flaky crust? Chicago pizza. Now that's pie. And the whole joke works except for that last line. And it's so funny to me. And I don't know where I lose them. And I'm going to keep doing it until I figure it out. But I don't know.
What stresses you out now?
I think what stresses me out now is sort of, it's so weird. So somebody was talking yesterday about how they'd never heard of Madonna. Okay. And that's crazy to me because I don't think there was a more sort of famous human being on the planet than Madonna. It made me think of like, you really need, if you want to have a career, you have to you can't rest on anything you've done in the past. Your career is only, it's only as good as the next thing that you're about to do. And, Madonna could not have done more. She could not have done more to make herself relevant and to have to sit and like, it's weird. I do think comedians, I think about like musicians and musicians have like their heydays and they become bigger. And then, and comedians can sort of have these longer careers, where if they don't screw it up in their personal life, sadly, anybody I was about to mention probably is not having a great career right now, but you can be like, Bill Burr doesn't seem like he's going anywhere anytime soon. I fucking hate that he's the oldest guy I can think of right now. But even like, Bob Newhart was still touring, in Vegas and George Wallace still is, in Vegas all the time. And like comedians can kind of like continue a career, but you can't rest on anything you've ever done. And I think sometimes I get stressed out, like I did this special because I want to do this special, but it's like, okay, I need to get, thank you for having me on to talk about this special because I need this special to get out there so that I can keep doing stand up, so I can keep, the career going because I like doing it and it will only go as long as people support me doing it. I think that there's anxiety for that.
Nick Vatterott joins us beyond the mic. You've acted, written, produced, performed. What's the easiest? What's the hardest?
Producing is sort of a pain, because there's just there's so many elements to it. It's great when you can perform. Like if you're producing if somebody else was producing my stand-up special, they would have had to, coordinate the entire crew and get butts in the seats and have everything all set up. So the only thing I had to do was worry about the act instead of worrying about 1,000 other things. So producing is sort of a huge pain. Writing is very fun. Writing every week is very challenging, but it's still fun though. I kind of think the hardest thing for me at least is acting because what I find with acting is when I write, I can sit in my house and on my sort of time, just kind of be in my world and write. I don't have 15 people surrounding, staring at me, waiting for me to come up with the joke. When you're acting, you have all these people staring at you that need you to do the line the correct way in 2 or 3 takes. And there's a lot of pressure when that's a thing I don't do all the time. I say that's the most difficult thing.
What makes something funny for you?
I mean, it's unexpected. I think that's the root of all comedy, is you have this tension and then you release some sort of unexpected incongruity to the path that it seems it's taking. But like, there's so much like derivative right now. There's just so much of the same stuff out there, or variations of the same joke. It's almost, I keep calling it comedy karaoke, where somebody does a joke and people are like, that sounds fun, I'm going to do that now, or my version of it. There's a thing going around now where a guy walks into a door frame, and it's like a kid walks into a door frame in the 70s and he just keeps going. And then he walks in the 80s and he kind of looks at the frame. 90s, he kind of whines a little bit. 2000, now, and then it's like he cries and falls down and makes a picture of it. And it was all right the first time I saw it. I've seen like 20 different people do that thing now. It's like, what happened? I couldn't imagine going to an open mic and seeing somebody do a joke and everybody else going, that's good, I'm going to do that joke now. So if anybody does anything surprising to me, there's jokes like Joe Biden's old. And you can do different variations of Joe Biden's old or Trump's stupid, variations of Trump's stupid. But if you find like a new hook on something, I'm trying to think of anything I've laughed at in the past 24 hours. But if anything that's a new hook, it's mining a new sort of trope or something, that gets me. I'll come up with a better answer next time.
It's like the joke, The Aristocrats. The joke's funny the first time, right, but with each variation,
right. Yeah, I know.
It's time to look back at Nick's social media.
My first
quote,
tweet.
I give thanks that I can hit people in the face in a regular basement. Unquote. I'm glad I reminded you of your first tweet. You said that in April of 2009. It was your first tweet.
God, I wonder what that means. Oh my gosh. Kill me. See, there's something unexpected. I thought I would be like a well-tuned here I am talking about how joke structure works and all that kind of stuff, and then that's the first thing I ever say. Hilarious.
How has social media helped, and in some cases hurt comedy?
The derivativeness has definitely, hurt it, and I think people, it's just very it's so attacky now, like the whole thing where there's just so much strife inside the community, and people hate, people used to hate Dane Cook, which I always thought was like silly, because like he's not a murderer, he's just a guy you didn't like his comedy so much. And honestly, the only reason you don't like him is because he got so big. If he was your buddy at an open mic, you wouldn't hate him so much. But now there's just like so much like animosity between people. And I just never remember that being a thing, like we were all doing comedy. I don't know. There's just a lot of hate right now, which is, I don't know. I wish it was, I'd be open. You can disagree with people and you can have passionate conversations, but just being like, it's just very ugly out there right now. I don't know if that's help. And then helping is, I think there's a lot of people that were able to get, I think I've discovered, comedians through social media that I would not have found out about, that I really like their comedy from. So I think that's good.
It's time for One Big Question with Nick Vatterott, comedian Beyond the Mic. How hard is it for a comedian now when a joke you've told, killing for years, for some reason now there'd be outrage? I mean, a joke could be a reason for cancellation. I mean, you can't have movies like Airplane and Kentucky Fried Movie. I mean, they couldn't be made today. But in general, for comedy.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think it depends on what the specific joke is. I would have to I was never really doing anything that, sort of, it depends, because there's a road, I think about like Blazing Saddles, and, that's often a movie cited as one that could never happen today. But Blazing Saddles also, it had to happen at that time. And it had to happen at that time. And then everything that's happened after that time happened because that happened at that time. And those things had to happen at that time. And sort of things like sort of evolve and change, and some things it's ridiculous. People overreact at some things. And then other things are like, blackface in the 1920s where we were like, yeah, this is something that needs to go away. And there's versions of blackface today and there's versions of overreaction today, where it's like, that joke is fine. Now you're just conflating blackface with everything. It's a joke by joke, because I would have to, like, looking at my act, which I do sometimes, I'm like one thing is like fat jokes. I think fat was a punchline to me when I first started out. I don't think it is anymore. I'm okay with that. I think there's like other fodder to go to, but I think it's like, it's hard to talk about it as an absolute because everyone's got two different ideas in their head of what's being talked about. Some people are like, innocent jokes that don't hurt anybody, why do they go away? And some people picture just the worst evil thing that you can say, and why can't I say that? Because I always, I always used to kind of tease edgy comedy a little bit coming up, because as I always thought that edgy was sort of like, sort of a little bit of cover to say some stuff, because like I hate how jokes get people hide behind jokes where they'll be like, well, I was making a joke, so it's okay that I said that. Because like I worked with like a lot of racist people and they were always joking when they said their racist thing. Like they were never like, well, you know what? I hate this type of person. And then they wouldn't laugh afterwards. It was always like they'd say something racist and then kind of laugh afterwards. And I'd be like, they were joking, but they weren't. And I think I had a joke for a while that I was like, making fun of like edgy. By the way, edgy comedy is necessary. We need edgy comedy. We need people sort of like pushing the boundaries of everything. And then we need other people pushing back so that it's sort of the needle falls in a place. It's sort of like helps us move forward, but not get too censored. We need to be progressive and not be censored at the same time. And I sometimes feel the universe needs two forces pushing on each other for us to find the right spot. But I think I made it. So while I support edgy comedy, I also like would kind of tease it being like 1960s Alabama was real edgy. We did a lot of edgy stuff back there. Like, I don't think you can call that edgy.
His first car was towed for too many tickets, would rather have hair than $1 million, and his special, Disingenuous, is available on Amazon Prime. We thank Nick Vatterott for taking the time to talk with us today.
Thank you. This was fun, Sean. I hope I didn't take too much of your time.
And that, my friends, is Beyond the Mic.